should educate ourselves so that we can question how and why statistical data are generated. Statistics are often used to support points that aren't true, but we tend to attack only the data that conflict with some bias of our own.
Thank you. Saksa.
Remember themselves unless falsified cannot lie, but they can be used to misrepresent the public statement and ranking system we take seriously. When you are told apart, you should question how the term within the fact was defined and how the data was generated. When you read a statistic of any kind, be sure to ask how, and more importantly, why the statistics was generated, who it benefits, and whether it can be trusted.
Thank you. So, did everybody understand all of that? Hands up if you understood everything. No? Just you, Nobu-san? Okay. I'll go through it then. One time. Okay, so line 3. In every industry, from education to healthcare to travel, generating quantitative data is considered important to maintain quality. Yet, statistics rarely show what they seem. If you look at recent airline statistics, you'll think that a far higher number of planes are arriving on schedule or early than before. But this appearance of improvement is deceptive. Okay, so let's give you just an example. You know Peach Airlines? Do you know?
Yes.
Yes?
I know.
Okay, so maybe you'll see a company like Peach Airlines, they are 99% on time. Right? But what does that mean? Well, if, for example, it takes 1 hour to get from Narita to KSX or whatever, right? This is the actual flight time, but maybe Peach Airlines will say anything in between, anything between 60 to 90 minutes is on time. Okay? That's moving the goalposts. This is the true goal. Okay? But this is moving the goalposts. It's making it easier to get the 99%. Right? So that's what airlines have been doing. Okay. Line 9. Airlines have become experts at appearance management by listing flight times as 20 to 30% longer than what the actual flight takes. Right? So this is about 50%, but it's still the same, okay? Same principle. Flights that operate on a normal to slightly delayed schedule are still counted as arriving early or on time. The Federal Aviation Administration calls this tactic schedule buffering. But do flights operating on a buffered schedule arrive on time in the sense that ordinary people use the term? So, Eri-san, same example. If the flight from Narita to Kanku arrives, if it takes 80 minutes, is that on time for you?
80 minutes?
Yes.
If it to 60 or 80?
Yes.
No.
No, right? But the airlines will say that's on time. So that's misleading, isn't it? If the company said 99% of our flights are on time, but how many of the flights are actually 60 minutes? right? Maybe that could be 70% or lower, right? So this is statistics being used to mislead you, all right? Just an example. Okay. Line 14. If a flight is scheduled for 2.5 hours and takes on average only 1.5 hours to reach its destination, then is any flight really on time? Or have airlines merely moved the goalposts? So moving the goalposts is a term that you may want to remember. So I think something like, Abe-san is probably doing this type of thing with inflation and so forth, moving the goalposts. Okay? So just remember that term. Line 18. Airlines are by no means the only industry where semantic manipulation of statistics is found. University rankings are also suspect. Many publications rank universities on a variety of metrics, relying on factors such as universities' acceptance rate, average student test scores, and job placement, to name a few. But in recent years, competition among universities has become so intense that several have admitted to dishonestly manipulating the stats. Okay, so what is important for you to assess how good a university is? No.
How university is good is depend on people who want what. But many students want a good job after graduate, so maybe some students think that good university has a good rate of the opportunity for good job.
Right, yeah. So then the word best university is open to interpretation, yeah? Everybody has a different concept of best. Maybe student satisfaction is important. Maybe the teacher to pupil ratio is important, right? So what does best university mean? But I don't know in Japan if they do this, but in England, newspapers publish a ranking of best universities, right? But everybody has a different idea of what a good university is. So it's important to define TIG, right? Definition. That's why you always find a definition for every kind of subjective term in any kind of journal, right? Any dissertation or thesis, 論文, right? So subjective. This is subjective. Do you know what this subjective means, Masako-san?
I'm not sure.
Subjective is 主観。最高主観的じゃないですか。Right? So we need to define TIG. What does it mean? Alright? The first step in statistics is definition. What does this subjective mean? We have to agree on that. Otherwise it means nothing. Right? Okay. Let's move on, line 24. The quantitative data weighed by rankings publications determine how we, ordinary people, understand phrases such as the best universities. But how can a system that rewards semantic manipulation be used as a guide to where students receive the best education? Writing in the journal Statistical Science, sociologist Joel Best argues we should educate ourselves so that we can question how and why statistical data are generated. Right? How and why? What is the doki behind the data? Right? What is the agenda? 目的. Statistics are often used to support points that aren't true, but we tend to attack only the data that conflict with some bias of our own. The numbers themselves, unless falsified, cannot lie, but they can be used to misrepresent the public statements and ranking systems we take seriously. When you are told a fact, you should question how the terms within the fact were defined and how the data was generated. When you read a statistic of any kind, be sure to ask how and, more importantly, why the statistic was generated, whom it benefits, and whether it can be trusted. Right? So tough words there. And you have a few images that I chose. Okay? So let's try to criticize each of these images or these claims. Right? So first, let's look at the Reebok ad. All right? Easy tone. Nice legs, nice body. Right? It tones key leg muscles. You don't have to read the small print, but if you look at the numbers, 28% gluteus maximus, that's the muscle in your butt. 11% the hamstrings, ura futomo, and the calves, fukurahari, 11%. What is your reaction to seeing this ad, Mariko-san? Just your reaction.
This number means, what does this number mean?
That's your reaction. Okay. So what is your question? What questions would you ask? What do these numbers mean? Right? So the first reaction is, what do these numbers mean? And what is the next question you would ask, Mariko-san?
This number some improvement of the body.
Improvement? Okay. What's the next question you would ask? Junko-san.
How many people did you ask?
So that's hyohon?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's the sample size?
And also, where are they from? Or,
Where are they from? Why?
because the muscle and body source is different from the races. So,
Okay. Who did you ask? Sample size, sample frame. Sample frame. 標本のその frame. Right. So what kind of people did you ask? Right. Great. Any other questions? Saki-san.
How they calculate the percentage?
How did they calculate it? How do you think they calculated it?
To be simple, maybe the total number and then
Divide.
divide
Total number of what?
of
Mm.
some total number of participants and then the number of who feel satisfied or some
Oh, satisfied with their
Yes.
various body parts.
or some feel some effect of this or something.
So it would be a survey. Survey?
Survey.
Satisfaction? Oh, satisfaction survey. So do you think, Mariko-san, that the ad you're looking at is talking about is talking about satisfaction,
I don't think so.
right? What is it talking about?
I think these numbers represent the reflection of using this product.
Yeah, how big it got, right? Or how much mass you gained in the butt or the hamstrings or the calves, right? So there's a little it's misleading, right? It doesn't really mean anything. They just put some numbers, maybe to do with satisfaction with the user's bottom or whatever. Just put that on an ad and said you made people think that they can improve their body structure by 28%, 11%, and 11% if they wear these shoes, right? But that's nonsense, isn't it? Is it? Do you think it's nonsense, Sakusan?
I can't know.
You don't know? Well, let me tell you, this advert was banned and it got a fine. Reebok was fined 300,000 Australian dollars in Australia and $25 million in America. So this is misleading advertising, right? They're trying to use statistics to trick people into thinking that this product gives them something, right? Okay, very nice. Next, let's look at the graph, right? The times leaves the rest behind. What is wrong with this? What's suspicious about this graph or chart, the whole image? Yuki-san.
What did you say?
What's suspicious about this image, the graph? Actually, no. Anybody? Kashima-san.
英語で言えない。
じゃあ日本語で言ってみてください。いいですよ。
右の棒グラフの縦軸の一番下がゼロじゃないからおかしいなと思います。
Excellent. Okay. So the scale is not complete. Scale. Y-axis is not. Y-軸. The y-axis is not complete. So So what? だからなんですか？はい、お願いします。
Y-axis is incomplete, so the ratio of the scale is wrong. So the right side bar graph looks like doubling of right side bar scale. So, but real true difference is not doubling. Okay, it's difficult.
Yeah.
This graph misleading the difference.
Yes, the actual difference is only about 10%. Right?
Right. Yes.
But if you only look at the visual, it looks like this Jesus, the Times is really leaving the Daily Telegraph behind. And so, just looking at the bar graph, it's misleading. And also, if you combine it with the statement, the Times leaves the rest behind. Right? The rest leaves the rest behind. It means, 競争でもう圧倒的に勝っているっていう意味なんですけれども。That's not true, right? Leaving behind means なんか追い抜く。Right? But it's only a little 10% difference. So is that misleading?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Very well done, Kashima-san. Great job. And Nobu-san, well done. Okay, so the remaining advertisement. More than 80% of dentists recommend Colgate. This was an advert which, again, attracted a fine because it was misleading. But what's the problem with this statement? More than 80% of dentists recommend Colgate. Masako-san. No idea?
No idea, sorry.
Okay. Kaori-san? What's the problem with this?
I don't know the number of the dentists.
Okay. So let's make a statement here. More than 80% of dentists recommend Colgate. How many dentists? So this is again Hyohon no okisa, right? Sample size. In statistics, you will say n equal to 9, right? Okay, so that's your question. Any other questions? Junko-san. Remember, questioning is the most effective way of trying to figure out what's wrong with the statement. Now, I'll also say that the sample size was okay. This was not the problem. Okay? But any other questions? What else do you want to know?
Why dentists recommend Colgate? The reason.
Why?
Reason is unclear.
Yeah. Why do they recommend it? Okay, it's a reasonable question, but it's not part of the statement. That comes later. Right, so if you think about the logic being a chain, right? So here 80% says ine, right? And then later will come to the ryu, right? But we're right looking at this level, so that the reason comes later, right? But let's look at this statement. Right. Next question. Yes, Saksa.
How they choose select. Is there any 選択肢?
Choice.
Choice, because I don't know. I want to know that there are some choices and other toothpaste or something. Same product, and then choose one or some. How they collect the ankate?
Ankate is not English.
I don't know.
It's a survey.
Survey.
Yes. So, your question is, how was the survey administered? この動詞は administer になります。アンケートを取るの、ちょっとここに書いてありますね。アンケートを取る。Okay.
I think she wanted to also say that if the survey was like, do you recommend Colgate or not? And then if it yes, it could be 80%. And then she also said if there were any other choices, not.
Yeah. So okay. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
So the question is, what were the options? What were the options in the questionnaire? What were the options in the questionnaire? Right? Is that what you mean?
I think so.
Is that what you mean? Saksa?
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, great. So, okay. So, it really depends on how the survey was administered, what kind of questions they asked. So, to get to this, going backwards, how would you make a questionnaire to get this result? Yuki-san.
Do you recommend Colgate?
Okay. So there's one, do you recommend? That's one way of doing it. Any other ways?
Same as her, but make some graduate, some late in the bow, some
Scale.
scale, and truly recommend or
Okay.
recommend.
Like a Likert scale. Okay. So Likert scale. I think 多分これ Likert scale. It's been a long time since I did the university. Good. Wow. Right. So there's a scale, right?
Yes.
But from a scale, 80% of, so maybe you would take any dentist that kind of put their result here, it would be
Yes,
recommended.
we would recommend.
Okay.
We can change the value.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Any other ways that you can get this answer?
Which toothpaste do you recommend?
Excellent. Which toothpaste? So you will have a choice, right? What would the rules be for you? What would the rules be? So you have Colgate, right? Colgate, Aquafresh, maybe 7-Eleven paste or something. Okay, and then you would have squares, and then you can put a tick. Would there be any rules for you? Like only one tick?
Yeah. So the question the surveyor makes a participant to choose only one.
Only one.
Only one.
Normally, right? But Colgate, the research firm that Colgate hired said you can give a multiple answer. So, of these 3 toothpastes, which ones would you recommend, Masako-san?
Aquafresh.
Would you recommend Colgate?
Mm-hmm.
7-Eleven paste?
No.
No. Right. So, this is what happened, okay? So, multiple choice, multiple selection, okay? This is called a questionnaire bias. アンケートの偏り。So this is quite an important term to remember, especially for you, Saki-san, because we're talking about criticizing statistics. Questionnaire bias is when the questionnaire is given in a way that would skew the results. Skew って偏らせる。Right? So, like Yuki-san said, this, do you recommend Colgate? Right? It's a loaded question. Maybe the dentist knows other brands, right, like Aquafresh, that they would also recommend. So there's a problem with the questionnaire, right? It's not a good questionnaire. And so what happened was this: which toothpaste do you recommend? Multiple choice and multiple selection is possible. Therefore, the questionnaire was biased. You cannot reasonably say that more than 80% of dentists recommend Colgate because you made the question like that, right? So, that was an exercise in how to kind of use questions to try to deconstruct statistics, okay? Now, I'm going to give you now a statement, and I want you to criticize it. どうしようかな。 average household income in Japan is 5.3 million yen. Eri-san, how much is 5.3 million yen in Japanese? $1 million? 1 million は100万円。So 530万円。Yes, is the average household income in Japan, right? Do you see any problems with this statement? Yes, no, sir.
Okay. The average cannot express the mean value. You know, the most people maybe may not be able to have this average. The peak is different, and many lower level people is there, but average is 5.3 million yen. So, but this figure makes people to image that most people can have the 5.3 million yen in household income, but it's not right.
Okay, so you're saying average, mean. Do you know what mean means, everybody? Kashima-san?
平均
Yes. Okay.
中央値
You want the true
あ
or
あ、そうアベレージ
アベレージが平均
アベレージ
で
が平均で、ミンが中央値。ああ、すみません。
No, mean is not 中央値. Mean is 平均.
アベレージが平均
アベレージは
Average, this is the trick. Because average can also mean, these are all averages. すべて平均。
ミディアン、yes.
Median,
ミディ
mode. Right, so average can be any of these. Right? So these are the averages. Right? So these are averages. There's different ways to calculate average. So you're right. Average household income, what does it mean? Which one? Usually it means mean, right? Most people will say heikin, right? And median is 中央値. Oh. I don't know what mode is in Japanese. It's 最多数. Okay. So why is mean, usually average is mean, but it can also mean everything. Why is mean not a good way of judging household income? Mariko-san.
Question is why the mean is not good.
Yeah, why is it not useful? I know you explained it, but it's a little bit complicated. I know you know, but honestly.
Because it doesn't express the actual household.
Does not express the actual household. Sorry, I don't understand that one.
It's very difficult.
Yes, I know. Anyone want to try? I'll explain. Yes, Yuki-san.
There's bipolarization.
Bipolarization. Do you, what do you? 二極化?
はい、二極化。There's so many rich people, no, not so many, there's rich people, and there is, it's hard to say, but
Average people.
Average people, yeah, yeah. And mean means all together
Yeah.
and divided by the number of people. So that's not the real average. Rich people earn so much money.
Mm.
Just one people make so much money. So
Well, no.
polarization.
Forget bipolarization. So the this is an outlier. Outlier っていうのはなんか異変？例外値。Right? So the outlier has excess influence on the mean, right? So if you have 10 people here earning 10 万円 and then one person earning 1兆円, the average will look very, very high. And all these people feel very poor. But it's only because the guy earning 1兆円 has just so much money. So it's not an accurate way. So to give you an example, maybe in Japan this is less obvious than America. In the US, mean is $70,000. Okay, the mean household income, right? A better way. What is a better way of trying to understand what's the average household income? What's the best way? You said chuoji, right? Median. So the median is you get rid of this, this, and somewhere here, right? This is the median. Yeah, this is chuoji. So if you work out the median, then it's closer to reality, right? And let me give you the answer of what the median household income is. I bet you want to know. It's actually 4.3 million, and forget 70,000 US dollars. It's 53. It's a big difference, right? So if somebody looks at this number, an American family, looks at this number, 70,000 US dollars, and thinks, oh my God, I'm doing terrible, I need to get another job, or I have to start selling drugs, or something like that, right? Then it can be a problem. So yeah, that's a misleading statement, an example. Now let me give you another example. This is a little bit harder. I'm just going to be careful. A study surveyed everyone living 300 yards, living within 300 yards of power lines, densen, and to look for incidences, これ、事例 incidences of 800 illnesses, 病気. The result was it found childhood leukemia. How do you say leukemia in Japanese? Huh? 白血病. It's the bone marrow. Yeah. Okay. Childhood leukemia was 4 times higher near the densen, the power lines. So what's your initial reaction to this statement? Kaori-san.
It sounds very dangerous to live near the power line.
That's your initial reaction. Okay? Masako-san, how about you?
It's it's scary for me.
Scary.
Yeah.
You want to check if there's any power lines near your house. Okay? Anybody with any other reactions? I think most people would be kind of alarmed, right? Bibi. Alarmed. And it's important to note your reaction because humans are not perfect, right? What happens is that you are alarmed and often before investigating you'll make a judgment. Right? You will make a judgment on this. Oh, it is bad to live near power lines. And then you have a bias, a katayori, right? And if you go further, if you are a researcher, like the people who did this research, they will form a confirmation bias. Anybody know what a confirmation bias is? Saki-san? Aる物事を調査する際にはその自分が持っている偏見を確定させる方向にそれをコンファームする方向に自分の偏りを持つこと、right? 自分の意見自分が持っているその偏りに反することは考慮に入れずにもう自分の特定の目的でこういう結論を出したいんだっていうふうに持ってって、それを confirmation bias. You're looking for a confirmation, right? And then you will look for a theory which look for a you look for a result which supports your theory. Okay? So it's the reverse. 逆です。You have a theory and you try to match that theory to reality, right? When it should be the other way around. You have to look at reality and make a theory, but in this case, you have a theory and you want to yes, you want to confirm it, right? So how would you deal with this? What kind of questions would you ask? 川島さん。
At first, I want to know how many people live. How percentage of the people is living within 300 yards?
Okay, so you wanna, why?
Because if 99% of the people living in here, the remaining part is
Would be an outlier.
yeah, maybe.
Outlier. Okay. Well, if everybody was living, if 99% of people were living within 300 yards, I would say that that probably makes the research better, don't you think? Because you have a much larger sample frame.
Okay.
I don't know, it's
I don't know.
It's fine. So that's your question. Any other questions? Elisa. What would be your question? How are you going to test this? This researcher has made a statement. 主張した. How are you going to challenge that?
I want to know the age structure of this survey. The age structure can affect the result. I mean that if the survey is done in the people or major in childhood, people, many children area, and if the survey, if the control survey is done in older people's area,
Okay.
the result is different.
Okay, so you want to know the age
Age, yes.
to see if there's a kind of bias
Bias,
there.
yes.
Okay. All right. Great. Any others?
I want to know the total amount of 白血病の人
Incidences. Incidences of childhood leukemia, right? You want to know the actual number, right? Okay. It seems reasonable. I'll tell you, the main, this is called, the problem with this is that it's a Texas sharpshooter fallacy. Ever heard this before? Sorry. Texas sharp. Fallacy. Fallacy. Anybody know what fallacy is? What does it mean? Kiron? Kiru? Kigen. This way? Kiben, sorry. Yes. Ben. Benboshi. So if you think the word, the phrase Texas sharpshooter comes from a guy in Texas shooting his rifle at a barn door, okay? With a machine gun or something. And then he has that, okay, and then he will draw a target later. Right? You shoot and then you put the target on, which is the same as getting the data and then putting your theory on, right? This is just random, right? But it looks like I have a good aim. Do you understand? So this is the same thing. The problem with this statement was that it was looking for too many illnesses. 800 illnesses. And that's a very, very extensive survey, right? So another thing that was wrong is childhood leukemia, right? Childhood leukemia is very rare, right? So it's not very hard to get 4 times higher, right? So maybe there's some, maybe there's a family with leukemia problems, right? And then that would become an outlier, right? So if you're looking for something, if you're looking for a pattern, right? And you're looking at 800 possible patterns, it could just be coincidence. Coincidence, magure, right? Yeah, but the researchers, they had a theory and they wanted to apply that theory, and they found some data, and then they put their theory, and people are alarmed by it. Nobody wants to live near power lines anymore, right? But it's just a coincidence. Yeah. So how would you test this further? How do you confirm this? What kind of studies would you do to confirm this? Juko-san.
Could you say that again?
What kind of studies would you do to confirm this statement? So so the first group of researchers came up with this statement, this result. A second group of researchers can go and test this. How would you test it? How would you confirm this is true?
Well,
There's many ways to do it.
yeah.
So
But the 300 years from power lines, several places from several places of 300 years of power line, or one place.
in several places.
Okay.
There's many power lines, right?
Yeah.
So you look at everybody living within 300 yards.
Okay.
どうやったらよりこれを確定できますか? It's pretty weak, I would say, because there's so many illnesses, and because leukemia is so rare, it's not very strong, I don't think. But how would you make it stronger? What test would you do?
Find like 100 or 1,000 childhood leukemia patients and then research where they live.
Right. So you go backwards, reverse. You understand, Junko-san? So this study is saying that you have a 4 times higher chance of your child getting leukemia if you live near a power line. So why not instead go to the hospitals, see which children have leukemia, and then see where they live. How many kids live near power lines, right? And if there is a correlation, then you can say this is stronger, right? Do you understand that?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's one way of testing it. Great answer. Any other ways? That's probably the strongest way, but there's probably other ways as well. Kaori-san? Mm.
should be leukemia.
Yeah. You would look at what's causing the leukemia, right? So that would be a different type of study. Okay, some easy answers would be like, for example, looking at this survey was done in Sweden. If you look at the results from other countries, you would probably find some new information, maybe different patterns. And then you can test it like that. You can also try to make a correlation between the infant mortality rate, 少児の死亡率, near power lines, right? So then you can kind of try to find some correlations.
Would you write down the word correlation?
Certainly. Correlation. 関連. Okay, if you have many correlations, you're getting closer to the truth, I think. Just one correlation is probably not enough. And correlation is also can be confused with causation. Causation, これも覚えておくことですね。因果。これイコールじゃないです。No. Later. Okay. So let me give you another example. Anybody ever heard of the Bermuda Triangle? What's your image of the Bermuda Triangle, Elisa? What is the Bermuda Triangle? Have you heard of it before? What happens in the Bermuda Triangle? Okay. Masako-san.
When ships enter the area, they will stuck there and sink.
Yeah, ships sink in the Bermuda Triangle. It's a. Do you believe it? You believe it? You think the Bermuda Triangle is... You would never go on a cruise to Bermuda? Never. Okay. Why do you believe that?
I read in the book
Mm-hmm.
when I was a child,
Okay.
and I bought it.
So why do you think the ships sink in the Bermuda Triangle? What's happening? What's going on?
There's strong power.
The mystical power.
Yeah. Maybe the bottom of the earth vacuuming
Whirlpools. Whirlpool. Whirlpool.
whirlpools.
水の中の渦巻き。渦巻き。Whirlpool. Do you think there's a whirlpool there, Yuki-san?
It could be, I think.
Could be. What else could it be?
Electromagnetic power.
That's Denji. Magnetism.
Power.
Magnetism. Some kind of magnetism? Okay, could be. What else could it be? Mariko-san. What could be causing all these ships to sink in this area? Black hole. Okay, anything else? Saki-san.
The stream of the sea is tidal.
Oh, okay. Currents. Okay. Shio. What else? Kashima-san. この可能性を other possibilities.
It's just because there are many amateur
Sailors.
sailors.
Many being the key word.
Many against the rest part.
Sorry? I think this is probably the most realistic. I think. Many ships. So this is the Caribbean, right? It's a busy shipping lane. There's lots of, historically, there's been lots of trade between for example, Louisiana and Jamaica or Trinidad, Tobago, right? So it's very busy. So, of course, if it's busy and you have the Atlantic Ocean here, Taiseido, which is much, much bigger, and of course there are busy shipping lanes, but the kind of, if you think about, okay, maybe there's a ship that sinks here, ship that sinks here, ship that sinks there, ship that sinks there, and around here there's lots of ships sinking. It looks like there's some kind of triangle. So this is another example of a Texas sharpshooter fallacy. It's just, I think probably the most reasonable is that it's just coincidence, right? Probably just coincidence, but also probably something to do with the currents. I would also look at the weather, right? What's the weather like in this area in the summer? Very rough, right? You have many hurricanes. Recently you have many hurricanes in this area. It's very dangerous, right? So it's a busy shipping lane in an area with very bad weather, very unpredictable currents, right? So if you compare this to, for example, the Channel. Do you know the English Channel? English Channel. English Channel is the sea between England and France, right? This is a very busy shipping lane, right? But it's much shorter and the weather is more stable. There's no big hurricanes in Europe, usually. So maybe there's not much ships sinking here. So I think this is a Texas sharpshooter fallacy, right? You look at a pattern, it looks like there's a pattern, and you're just putting your triangle there and you say, oh, it's a mysterious. But have we ever found a black hole on the planet? No, so you just discount that. Is there a whirlpool here? Can you confirm it? Have there been any whirlpools in other places in the world? Big ones? Maybe, I don't know. So you just put a triangle here. Is there a magnetic? You can check that. Probably not, right? So you can kind of reduce the possibilities and you look at what is the most reasonable, right? What is the most reasonable? It's probably just a busy shipping lane, right? So that's an example of a Texas sharpshooter fallacy. And I want to do one more. So here I wrote, TV is as bad for you as smoking. Television. After age 25, every half an hour that you spend watching TV will take 11 minutes off your life. What is the problem with this statement? Sorry, my handwriting is not good. What is the problem here, Masako-san?
Maybe it doesn't seem reliable. I don't know.
It's okay. It's okay. Anybody else?
This sentence cannot show that the harm of the smoking is what is the harm of smoking is. So I mean it's not clear that the harm of the smoking is unclear.
Well, I think harm of the TV, no?
Oh, also sorry.
Yeah.
TV. Yeah, sorry. So smoking can cause lung cancer. It's harmful. But TV, what is TV's harm? This sentence cannot show.
Yeah. So this is a great answer. This is confusing correlation with causation, right? 関連と因果を混乱させてる。Now there's a Latin term that you should remember. これ覚えておいてくださいね。Texas Sharpshooter fallacy. There's many fallacies, and this is one. When you confuse correlation with causation, it's called post hoc ergo propter hoc. I know this is very difficult, it's Latin, nobody uses it, but when you're thinking about logical thinking, this is an error, this is a fallacy. Right? Kibe. So probably in this study, they looked at the people who watch TV and people that smoke, and then saw that, oh, people who watch TV more than, I don't know, 3 hours a day, right, die at around the same age as the people who smoke 1 pack a day, or something like that, right? And then they're saying, oh, TV is very bad for you. But what's a more reasonable explanation? Here they're saying TV is bad for you, right? They're making a statement, right? TV is bad for you. What is the more reasonable explanation?
Lack of exercise.
Yes. Right? So when you're watching TV, you're not doing exercise. Right? So maybe those people are unhealthy, right? So they have confused the correlation with causation. They're saying that TV is bad for you. But no, really it should be lack of exercise, right? And so the chain here breaks down, the chain in the logic. So after 25, every 30 minutes of TV will take 11 minutes of your life. That's bullshit, right? And this is bullshit as well, but it's less bullshit, right? Probably TV is bad for you if you're not on a treadmill and you're walking in the gym. That they have TVs on the treadmill in the cycling league. So that kind of TV is probably good for you, right? So that's an example of a post hoc ergo propter hoc fallacy. Now, I want you to give me some, make up some fake statements or fake statistics. Not fake, but misleading. Give me some creative statistics. Anybody? Okay, I'll give you one. All terrorists are Muslims, so all Muslims must be terrorists. What would you say? That's very misleading, right? Yeah.
But many people think so.
Yes. Yes, many people who are not thinking critically will think so. Okay. Any others?
Many Chinese products use bad chemical substances.
Okay. What would you say to that? How would you challenge Nobu-san's statement?
One more.
Yes.
Many Chinese products use harmful chemical substances. Right?
So Chinese products are dangerous
Mm.
or harmful.
Yeah. So how would you challenge this type of thinking? What questions would you ask Nobu-san?
What does mean?
Yeah. How many?
How many?
How many Chinese products did you look at?
Okay, it's a very good question. How many? 80% 80% Chinese toy production use bad chemical substances. 80%.
Okay.
When? Which era?
Which era? This 10 years.
What is the definition of bad chemical substances?
Bad chemical. The definition of the bad chemical substances is the Japanese rule. Japanese regulation prohibit the using the chemical substances. This chemical substance is used in the Chinese product. Japanese government.
Anyone else want to challenge Nobu-san? So you say, well, 80% of Chinese toys are using prohibited substances. Okay, how about other countries and their toy products?
Japanese company cannot use this chemical substances. 100% safe. India product we are using 50%.
Okay.
American toy market provides the toys including the 30% toys using the chemical substance, but the Japanese government prohibit the import of such a US toys.
Okay. Anyone else want to challenge his statement about 80% of Chinese companies?
It's fake news. It's a fake.
But I think you could also be true. Maybe 80% of the toys are using illegal.
Maybe.
That could be fine,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
80% of toys. Okay, so you probably you want to look. What is the definition of toys?
Mm.
What toys are you talking about?
Okay. The Japanese government checks the Chinese toys such as blocks toys and plastic toys. Mm.
All plastic toys.
All plastic toys.
Okay, and 80% of that is. Okay. Yeah. So how many? I would probably ask, how many of these products actually come to Japan?
Oh. Mm. Okay. The Japanese government surveyed the Chinese toys, and the results shows that 1 million toys to import in Japan. 100.
1 million.
1 million toys. Yes.
Okay. Okay.
For 10 years.
Yes. Well, we get the picture. We understand. It's important to ask these questions, right? Because probably your initial statement was to make people scared about Chinese products. But if you ask more questions, for example, what's the situation with other countries' toys? What are toys? Right? What period are you talking about? Whatever. So there's many ways of challenging that. Can I have another statement? Another misleading statement? Mariko-san? Just to take you back to the terrorist example, right? All Muslims are terrorists. All terrorists are Muslims, therefore all Muslims are terrorists. That's an example of a non sequitur, which is, again, it's a Latin fallacy. It means it does not follow. So just because all terrorists are Muslim does not mean all Muslims are terrorists, right? That's fallacy. I'll give you one more. Donald Trump can't be trusted because Donald Trump cannot be trusted with the presidency because he has been tricking his customers with his Trump University. Yes. Donald Trump cannot be trusted with the presidency because he has been tricking customers from his Trump University. What's the problem with that? Maybe there is no problem with that, really, but you can argue, you can challenge that.
Okay. How many customers have been tricked?
Thousands.
1,000.
Yeah, 1,000.
1,000.
What kind of trick? What kind of result of tricking?
Okay, he tricked people into signing up for a degree to sell real estate, but it was not a real degree. He just made up a degree. a Trump degree or something. Okay.
What is Trump's profit? What did he gain from that?
Oh, he made a lot of money, millions. But it doesn't matter because the presidency has nothing to do with what Trump did as a person. That you could say that other people will disagree, but that is what you call an ad hominem against the man. これも奇弁ですね。Ad hominem, Donald Trump. What this is you are criticizing Donald Trump as a man, but not as a president, right? It has nothing to do what he did at his university. If he tricked people, or if he robbed people, killed people, it doesn't matter. Right? The presidency is different. Right? Have there been presidents before, successful presidents, who were not completely clean? Right? There probably have been many presidents who have done very bad things in their lives and then became president and did some good things. So I am making an ad hominem attacking Donald Trump because of his personality, because of his record. But that has nothing to do with his effectiveness as president. You can say that. It's a kind of logical fallacy. So, and there's a name for that. Okay, it's time now. I hope you enjoyed today's class. There's a lot of things that I went through. But yes, have a great weekend. Tomorrow is a public holiday. So enjoy the 3-day weekend. ありがとうございました. Thank you very much. The lesson's based on donations. If you enjoyed it, please leave something in the bag. I forgot my box today. So if you enjoyed it, please leave something. Yeah, I always have a box. ありがとうございます. Next lesson will be in around 2 weeks.
さっきのフェイクニュースのフェイクは何だろう。
はい。
さっきのフェイクニュースはあれで終わりなんですか。
中国はだから本当にそれだけの割合があったのか、だからどういうサンプルを使うかとか、でそのケミカルなものっていうのは危険っていうのは本当に危険なものかどうか、日本政府が決めたものが全部危険とは限らないですね。
Oh, that's good. Dangerous is the definition that the Japanese government made.
だからアメリカだったら 30%、インだったら 50% ですが、他の国は許してるわけだから、本当に危険かどうかっても分からない。そういうことです。
Yes, please. どうもありがとうございました。Yes, thank you. You too. Bye bye. どうもありがとうございました。Thank you very much.
ちょっと取ります。Donation cannot leave.
ありがとうございます。Thank you. I'm glad you came finally. ありがとうございます。Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed it and you learned a lot. Good. Thank you. ありがとうございました。Thank you so much. どうもありがとうございます。ライカルト。その S じゃなくて R です。ライカルト。Yes. そのスケールの種類ですね。で必ずしもあれ合ってるかどうかわからないんで、結構10年ぐらい前にやったことだから確認した方がいいかもしれない。でもああいうスケールの種類一種で確かああいうやつI think。あれは例として、good を recommend に書いて、bad を not recommend、推奨する、推奨しない。断言じゃなくて、どのぐらいそれに合意するかとか、とても推奨するとか、やや推奨するとか、そういうの見たことあるじゃないですか。そういうのを話してます。Check when you get home. Alright, thank you very much. ありがとうございました。どうもありがとうございました。Thank you so much. Thank you.
アルトミナとか、なんとかっていうのは何語です？
ラテン語。
英語であれを使ってるってことですか？
そうですね。
統計学とか学ぶときに。
統計学は、似てるんですけれども、奇弁と統計って結構関連があるじゃないですか。で、奇弁の方はよりなんか哲学的なところがあるから、必ずしも統計学を学ぶときに奇弁が出てくるとは限らないですけれども、関連があるのに使いました。で、結構面白いから、I like it.
So you studied that?
Yeah, I did a little bit.
で
I enjoyed it.
クラスでそのアドホミナがどうとかっていうのが出てくるんですか？みんな使ってるっていうか先生が気に入って使ってるんですか？
統計学を学ぶときには、出す先生もいれば、でも統計学とアドホミネムはないじゃないですか。
聞いたことはないです。
でも、例えば統計を使ってある主張をするときに、その主張を批判するときに、この奇弁っていうのを使います。
なるほど。ありがとうございます。
Yes. It's good to see you again.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Yeah, where you been?
Just walking.
I remember you had some problems before, but with some courses that you signed up to, right? なんかそういうことでやってる。
ビジネスの塾ね。
Yeah, how was it?
It's like 5 years ago.
Oh, okay, that's a long time.
今じゃなくて、今は仕掛ける方の。だから私でも仕掛ける方の端っこぐらいにいる。
よくわかんないけど。
楽しいです。ビジネスはね。
また来てくださいね。
はい、ありがとうございます。
どうもありがとうございます。はい、会議室1です。お願いします。はい。はい。すみません。こちらですね。はい。こちらがマーカーペン。
はい。7人で。はい、わかりました。これは。
カメラは僕のです。